Hi friends, I'm Flutter. Sometimes when we play a game, we aren't completely conscious of why we like or dislike it. It's not that we lack insight, but rather we don't take time to reflect on this with a critical eye. In this video, I'll be talking about the elements that make or break the player's experience in VR narrative games. I'm not just looking at big budget productions, but across the gaming landscape to explore how good narrative design can elevate the VR experience regardless of team size, time, and money. I'll be comparing 3 VR games, each with its unique narrative approach, and importantly, different levels of development resources. What is the goal of this? To critique these games from a designer lens and unravel what's behind effective storytelling in virtual reality and understand how even the smallest teams can create memorable, immersive experiences. Let's get started.
Just before recording, I looked up copyright to make sure that I don't infringe on any of that as I share some of this gameplay. So I'm just going to share a little bit from each of these games and minimal audio, if not any audio from the game, just to be safe since this is the first time I'm doing this. But this is for educational purposes, so it's very important. Okay, let's get started here. The first game is Luna, which is beautiful. This is a wonderful narrative, and I believe if we look on the MetaQuest store, I think this is created by a solo game developer because there is just a name here. I'm not sure. I did look around this site, but there's not too much information about that. So like I said, I am going to show different teams, size of teams, and so that you can get an idea of what can be produced. However, I think this is an awesome example of a really polished demo. So if you are looking to create a short demo, this is really a great narrative example of it. All right, so let's look at just a little bit of this. So what I love here, we're gonna play this. You'll hear me talking to this character.
What's your name?
I'm Luna.
And what is really great about this is you could use your voice. Now the game is seated only, so you can't walk around the space. And that's the one criticism that I might have on this. I really like walking around the space. However, it's beautifully done. It's like watching a film and that you're participating in it and you are talking to this character. You are a robot.
I don't seem to remember.
And you are flowing through this narrative by following these indicators. And all you have to do is point and then click, and then it brings you to the next part of that 3D environment. And same here, you click and you get to the next area. What's interesting about this is the characters will think and feel based on your choices. And then this is the start of the game. And what I really like about that one is the flow is really well done. You are seeing through the eyes of a robot. The one thing that I really don't know if I like or dislike the voice activation. It's nice to be able to speak to the character. However, sometimes if you speak really fast, the voice doesn't get picked up as easily, and then that breaks the immersion. However, you can point your ray at that text and be able to move through the story. So even if it doesn't recognize your voice, they have that option that you can click through. So that's great. So it doesn't hinder you or get you frustrated, but it just depends on how the voice gets picked up by the mic. So I just thought that was a really wonderful example. There's only one episode right now that I was able to access. When I did click on the locked episode 2, it brought me to a screen to pay for the game, but then it only seemed like I could pay for the first episode. So I'm not really clear if all the episodes are completed. And let's just take a look here because here it says episode 2. Yeah, if you want episode 2, please leave a review. Okay, so maybe if you leave a review, the developer will give you that. I'm not really sure because it seems like this has not been looked at since 2022. So I'm not sure what happened to this game. But I do think it was a really good example of narrative, and I wanted to include it. And because it seems like it's a really small team or possibly a solo indie game dev, I wanted to showcase that as well. The animations are beautiful, the story flows really well. However, my criticism is that you're sitting in one place. That could be good or bad. I mean, that could be accessible to more people possibly because you don't have to require people to move around the space, but it does kind of limit some of that immersion of being in the 3D space in some ways. I think they make up for it by giving you that like view through the circle, which I think is like the lens of the robot. So that does help. Okay. So the next game, I'm very excited about this. It is Vampire the Masquerade. So my friend and I were joking that about Vampire from like the 90s, playing that live action role playing game. And I said, oh, that would be amazing in VR. They should have that as like multiplayer in VR. So I looked up while I was on the phone with her and I found this. And this was just released just after Halloween this year. And so it isn't multiplayer, but just want to let the devs know that would be super cool if it could be like pointing to those 90s version of Vampire would be kind of fun. But I have to say, this definitely needed to be included because it's got a great narrative and gameplay. And I just think it's really well designed. And I've only played 1% of it so far. So what got me interested in playing it was not just because, I was reminiscing with my friend, but I was interested because a lot of the reviews said this is how narrative should be done in VR. I had to check it out when I heard that because I'm really interested in narrative. And I do think they did a good job. So I'm going to walk you through some of this. So first of all, they really train you on the interactions while you're getting pieces of the narrative and exploring the space. So in this case, you are free to explore. And what I like about this is that you have plenty of bottles to pick up and learn how to pick up objects because there's tons of objects throughout this game to throw around. And I really like that. It makes it fun when you can just pick up a lot of different things. And yeah, you feel like more a part of the environment. Now, there are some fun qualities to this game. You can teleport, they call it blink, to different ledges of these buildings and balconies. But here you can, using the grip, go across these electrical lines, which at first I thought it was going to be really scary looking down, but it's not if you focus just on the lines in front of you. So that's a lot of fun. And if you notice those hands, again, we're showing the like ghostly hands are showing how to use the interaction. So it's not breaking immersion. That UI is built right into the environment and it's very seamless. And I felt like I could learn everything at a slower pace. I could learn it at my own pace because this world is also very open. So you could be practicing both of those actions before moving on. And it's fun I would love to be in Venice. So it was really a great environment just to have fun with and be in. So here's a bit more text on some UI, but this is showing you heightened senses. And even though there's that big UI, it doesn't bother me too much because the environment is so well done. And if you see, you hold the trigger and then you put your hand up and then the glowing arrows show you where to find there's a key there. And it also shows you what other objects you can pick up in the space. And there's quite a lot that you can pick up. And then this was at the end of this part of the story, you hear Justice's voice come in and give you some more insight into the story and keep furthering that along. So as I'm looking out the balcony, I'm hearing about the story and the bird flies away. So that's like really well done. Now this, I am going to show you the way they do teleport. You press B and then you let go of B and then you land up on a ledge. And again, some of that UI is popping up again to remind you of the heightened senses. So there's nice reminders in there without being too obtrusive. And again, like I said, I'm only 1% through. I don't know if this is through the whole game. It probably, I would imagine, isn't. Like I'm probably still in the tutorial section, but I was spending so much time walking around and enjoying the space that I was like, okay, taking my time. And I think that's really important for people to be able to give them time in VR because people might not be used to the controls and they still even if they're used to VR, every game has a different way of using the controls like in subtle differences. So nothing's super standard yet. Knowing that, it's good to take the time to teach the player how to play the game so they enjoy it. And I thoroughly was enjoying it. Something I can't show you here, I can't show is the sound, but it's really cool because you're hearing in the distance all these different enemies talking. And they're just like, oh, I don't know. And they're talking a little bit about the story. And right now, what I'm doing again is that heightened senses. So I'm trying to see what to do next. And all I'm really seeing right now are the little hearts on where each of these enemies are and like the glowing flags, which is something that is indicating where I can blink or teleport to. So way up here, I was not able to see what to do next, but that's okay because I'm going to show you. And see, you can see even where the NPC is looking. There's like a little bit of a ray. And now my heightened senses are showing I probably need to flip that switch, which I did earlier. And then something cool that I was holding A, and then I was able to walk with the cloak. I'm crouched now, and they are not sensing me because I'm cloaked and walking, holding A. I don't know how I did that. I'm seeing where the enemies are because their hearts are glowing yellow. And then I'm going to go and teleport. So like I'm already having fun and I'm probably just still learning how to use all the controls. But this game is so great because sneaking around is just so much fun. Like who knew? And then I eat a rat there. You know, I have to say, eating the rats was not something I wanted to do because I kind of thought they were cute, but it's a necessity in order to stay alive as a vampire. So if you can't get enough blood from humans, you have to rely on the rats. The nice thing about the rats, though, is that they spawn, as you would imagine, very quickly again. So I didn't feel as bad because if like I ate a rat, I would see one again pretty soon. So it's still hard for me to eat those rats. So you can throw objects also to distract these enemies. And then up here, I'm on the ground with them, but at one point I was up top here and they did not sense me. So that was really cool to look down on them. They sensed me here and I thought I could just force my way through and run, but I did not have a lot of life left. But I did manage to blink my way into this door that I had been trying to get through without getting caught. And then I grabbed a rat. I thought I was going to the next section of this story, and then no, I got caught. And that was that. So, yeah, you can tell I like that game, but I think it's just very well designed. Another thing, if you don't like puzzles, which I could go either way with puzzles, I played Unravel until I got stuck at a place where even when I went online for a cheat, I couldn't get past this one part. And I think what's nice about this game and VR in general is you can take advantage of that 3D space for people to, if there's a harder puzzle to solve, like I needed to find the door to the sewer. And I wasn't annoyed about the puzzle being hard or if it's hard. I think it's at this point, I feel it's kind of medium. It didn't bother me because there was so much to explore and it was fun sneaking around and jumping in the different windows and going into the different rooms and throwing objects around. And just that was fun enough that it also gave me space to think and process like, okay, maybe I try the cloak this time and maybe I'll try this technique to get past them. you could get a lot more creative as a gamer, and that's just really makes it fun. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about here is there's a really nice mix of lower poly and higher. It's probably not too high, but if you see these edges here, the material is more realistic, but the mesh is definitely more simplified. There's even in one of the rooms a light that is just like an elongated cube, but it's got this same material on it, like this lampshade material. And when you see everything together, it just blends in so nice that it looks a lot more realistic than maybe that simplified mesh. Oh, and then I just wanted to show the UI that I really like this. It's simple to use, their pause menu. And I love how they have the little book here because that's just showing the story and narrative, and it points to that. And so you feel like you're not just with this traditional UI, you're also like being reminded that you are part of a narrative. So I just love that also. Okay, so let's look at this team because I'm showing about like how all these teams are different, right? So let's go to the about. So Fast Travel Games definitely has, I think, more people on their team than the previous game we just looked at. So it's just a reminder that when you see a really amazing game like Vampire the Masquerade, definitely take your inspiration from it and learn all the things that I'm pointing out design-wise and really critique that. But remember that they have a lot more people on their team and you might be doing this yourself, like I'm doing everything myself. And so don't compare yourself to that. Just think about the resources that are put into each of these. So with that said, I want to go to the last game, this was done in, I think, 2021, but I just think it's a good example of a project that was completed during a game jam. So there were 4 people that worked on this. Let's see. And I think this was from Australia. And then if you look here, this is their team and this is the Global Game Jam, but this is from 2021. There's one coming up in January. So if you want to participate in that, that would be probably a fun thing to do. So this is called Find My Phone. And there's 2 main features of this, I would say, is you are scanning objects and then you hear a sound effect to let you know that you scanned it. And it just keeps forwarding you through the story because you have a narrator telling you what to do next. And really, you're just, again, in an open space. So first, here's the scanning. And then you're in an open space that you could throw a lot of objects around. Again, a super fun thing to do in VR. And you're exploring the space, you're scanning objects, and the narrator will tell you if you're doing a good job or not by, and then I found the correct one that
You found my room, but Jonathan
gave me this character, so I'm progressing through the story every time I find a person to talk to, and then they throw their phone at me, which changes the scene. And I have to say, it's a simple game, but it's fun to walk around and be listening to where the phone vibration sound is, and that's giving you the clue as well as scanning the objects. And then you meet these different characters. And then the ending is really funny. And I just think it's lighthearted and a fun game. And there's just some comedy to it. And it's simplified. So remember when you're working on a game by yourself to really keep the scope small in this way, whether it's Luna, a really polished demo, or this Find My Phone, fun, small narrative. I think that's really realistic when you are starting out. But don't get intimidated by these games, but definitely learn from them because, wow, that's a good one to check out.
After reflecting on different games, don't just try to replicate what they've done. Think about how you can do something better and put your own twist on what you've discovered from your assessment. This will help you become a better designer and keep your critical thinking sharp. Let me know in the comments what kind of effective design you've seen in your favorite VR games. Until next time, take care, friends. Thanks for watching.